Hello, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another BNQ challenge episode slash journaling. Today was the third trade out of the 30 trades I will be taking. Today's Thursday, March 26th, and I took another XFA home. Now, some other key points I want to mention is that I did take trade of the day, but only on eval. This was a valid eval trade because it was a 30-second, and I'll take 30 seconds on XFA. But now I've gotten to the point where I'm so consistent that I feel like I'm just missing out on high quality setups, just based on the fact that I limited myself. So I will be. This is what I mean by trade till now, because now I will be taking 30 seconds on the XFAs. But I will myself to 2 bad losses. If I take 2 bad losses, I will go back till I build a good buffer off of those 2 losses that I take on the 30 second. If they're statistical losses, I will still be taking them. If they're not, if I take 2, I will go back to the 1 through 5 minute. But so far, I will be incorporating them into my XFA trading. And today was the first day, so took another XFA home, and I actually took the first XFA W in the challenge. So low dub skis for that. However, in hindsight, I do regret taking the trade, and I wouldn't want to replicate the trade. So something very important I want to mention is that even from your wins, you should be learning so much from them. You shouldn't cope that because it was a win, it was a good choice, etc., etc., etc. I want you to take away from your losses as much as you take away. I want you to take away from your wins as much as you take away from your losses, if that makes sense. However, I still took so much away even from a win. Today I took 2 30-second trades, one on eval, one on XFA. First one I took was the trade of the day, which I wish would have taken on XFA. However, I didn't. So let's get started with a little bit of high time frame analysis really quickly, just so we can understand the day and get into the interesting stuff, the entry time frame. So what do we see? We saw that at the time we were in a. I'm just gonna put ourselves like right here. We were in a 4-hour bullish range with some nice buy side targets. All this LR. Leading up to a high time frame PDA or a nice key level, which is what's holding this bearish sentiment right here. However, at the same time, on the lower time frames, we are respecting bearish. Me personally, I did see a lot of bullish. I was pretty neutral, super neutral. However, I was still leaning bearish, just more to it because of what we were respecting and disrespecting on the lower time frames. But regardless, I still relied on conditions. It's been a pretty conditional heavy week, I'd say. So yeah. Firstly, I marked out. I think it was a 1-hour gap up here. Yes, correct. Marked out a little 1-hour gap. See if we mitigate it or as we can use it for our draw, etc. But yeah, some nice buy side targets, and we have a bullish SMT off of this key level. So I understand bullish sentiment. However, me personally, I didn't have enough conviction on it. So, what do I see? I marked out this 30-minute gap that I saw in London session, but most importantly, I marked out this 15-minute. This was my main condition because off of open. Well, let's just get started. Yeah. So I would set out this condition and scaling down to the 1 minute. What happens on open? On open, we completely respect the condition, and at this point, wait, which one's the 50? Sorry. Okay, so I had these 2 conditions. I wanted to see how we reacted from the bearish 15-minute gap, see how we rejected or reacted from it, and this one. This is my main one, however. And so what ends up happening is that open completely respects this gap and immediately mitigates this 15-minute. Now here, I actually saw a lot of bullish conviction. I started feeling a lot of bullish conviction due to how we have such a valid sweep and internal SMT, and because we fully mitigate this 15-minute. Now I understand the argument in which we completely mitigate it and it's just sus. It looks like we're going to completely inverse it, and that means that the condition is getting disrespected, and we are respecting more this 15-minute. So we should be more bearish. However, This is when you start mixing other confluences like PO3, and you start seeing how we not only mitigate this gap, but we also set up an accumulation, and this is not dangerous for me. This is actually really good. And at 9:40, we completely manipulate down, which at 9:40 we create this 5-minute sponsored gap by this 15-minute gap, which is also a BPR, balanced price range, meaning there's 2 5-minute gaps on each side. So this is now turns into a really good target. So I want 9:45 to deliver me to my targets. That is my thought process right now. And which ends up coming true in the 30-second. And just look at this structure. Like when this was accumulating and generating targets, this was absolutely amazing for me in my head. This is so textbook. So if you scale back up to the 15-minute, how did that gap look? You see, we mitigate this gap, completely sweep all these levels. Now we have high resistance at our lows and low resistance at our highs, and look how it closed. Just respected and turtle soup the fuck out of this whole range. So now continuing on executionally, I took this 30-second trade right here with this gap. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Just a super amazing 8+++ trade. So now what do we see? That we respected this 15-minute, and that we respected this 15-minute that is at a discount, and we didn't, that is at a premium, and we didn't respect the other 15-minute, which is at a premium. So this automatically gives me a lot of bullish conviction. So moving on forward, I have more of a bullish bias. Now what happens? 10 a.m. is kind of rolling around. However, we keep displacing higher, and I think the next candle is that 10 a.m. Yeah, by 10 a.m. it looks like we are displacing through this 15-minute, so I'm even more bullish. However, we tap into this 30-minute PDA. Now this is where my mistake comes in. I actually took this inversion right here. So my thought process was that we SMT'd this level, and then we stop hunted it, respected its CE amazingly perfect. And so now that we have this new sponsored 5-minute, I knew people were going to try to catch longs off of that because we are so obviously bullish. However, I wanted to catch a mech towards this continuation because I can trade. I like trading retracements as much as I like trading continuations. So that was my thought process. And however, I didn't notice my thought process with the 10 a.m. Okay. The mistake is that at the time of entry, the time to close is bad. However, the inversion through is good, so I don't really mind that. It's at 9:57:30. Now, what does this mean? We are entering a super, super high time frame macro that is super dangerous, and our stop loss can't get manipulated into if we have reason to do so. Now, is there? Unfortunately, yes, there is. Oh shit, I fucked up. How do I? Sorry guys, I don't really be doing this bullshit. Okay, yeah, there is. Because what happens? We end up creating this 4-hour gap, which gets manipulated into at that 10 a.m. macro. So what does this mean? That 10 a.m. now has a reason to run our stop loss and manipulate and just run our stop and continue with our trade idea. But what I was thinking was that for the 10 a.m. had nowhere to manipulate into, and therefore delivering us to our targets. So unfortunately, I just missed that, and I didn't see that the 4-hour was creating that. So that's something that's essentially the only thing with that's wrong with this trade, Trade idea is great. Narrative is great. Aside from that, actually, narrative is the main thing that's wrong. But ignoring what was wrong, um, pretty good trade and good thought process. Now I know a lot of people took. I did take full TP as this is up until where my TP was, and I know a lot of people took longs here as well. This long, super valid trade, targeting the 4 hour up here, but I know it's a break even because of here. Because yeah, just super choppy price action after. And yeah, I'm gonna jump on over it and show you guys how I journal today. So here is how I journal today. I wrote down that it's a super easy day, one eval, whatever I was telling you guys, but um, I also forgot to trade one of my XFAs because I risk 1% on one, and on the rest I risk 0.5. So I forgot to trade on that one. And this is how my checklist. I think this is gonna be the most important part. Did how it was such a midday, and I want you guys to learn from my bad days. A bad day for me is just something I just don't agree with. It doesn't like I don't reflect bad and good with P&L. As you see, I'm being so critical of myself. On a day that I took on a trade of the day, a plus win and another win on my XFAs. Being so critical because I know where this is coming from. I'm not coping. I'm being real with myself, and I know what my intentions were at the time. I know what I was thinking at the time, and I know that I didn't perform as well as I could have, even though the results don't reflect that. However, I do think it's really good to have this mindset because trading is about consistency and long term. So, while it might not affect me now, I like holding up a magnifying glass up to my trading because I don't ever want none of this bullshit to repeat itself. And I catch it and I catch it early, and that's why I'm so strict with myself. But yeah, just mid-grade setup. I B minus, most C plus, C plus even. Like I'm being generous with myself saying C plus shit. No, I think it's good. B minus and C plus. But yeah, time is but it's 9:56, and I didn't prioritize what was being created at that 10 a.m. macro. Could have manipulated into my sellers because it was a 4 hour. Time to close this, but that's more nitpicky. Intermediate low gets taken. These two are more nitpicky. You can ignore if the narrative is there, and risky because lack of break even. I should have also, even if I was to take this, the lack of break even because we already took the internal low is also super dangerous. I think I just got lucky because the 30-minute ended up being the manipulation enough to deliver us to our gap to long off of. But yeah, people who longed here also super good thought process, way better than more narrative significance than mine regarding manipulation. But yeah, I cooked, but could have been more cautious. 80%. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I just took trade of the day on the 32nd, and I wanted to take something on the XFA because I missed such a